The unthinkable could happen. Donald Trump could be back in the White House. We speak to Dr. Edward Mienie of the University of North Georgia in Atlanta. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you for inviting me, and it's always a pleasure to be with you and your listeners.
How likely is it that Trump could return to the White House?
Yes, of course, highly speculative. What I will say is he's a real contender within the Republican Party. He is by far the most popular of the contenders, and it's a strange phenomenon. He has 4 indictments against him, and it's almost as though every time a new indictment comes his way, he gets even more popular within the Republican Party. So he is very focused on becoming the next president of the United States. Of the 4 indictments against him, legal experts say one of them may be posing quite a problem for him, and that's the one with the classified documents that were found at Mar-a-Lago. I'm not a legal expert, and I'm not going to comment on that. It's just from my understanding that is a real stickler. So, depending on the outcome of these court cases, it will influence the election one way or another. But as I say, for now, Trump's got a solid following, and he is way ahead of his contenders. Biden, as a matter of fact, in a recent CBS poll, is behind Trump, is lagging behind. So, and of course, there are issues that you may have picked up on the wires about the Biden family business, if that's the way I can put it. So, if Trump returns to the White House, we will then again, as you know from his first term, he embraces the America First policy, and he has a more protectionist stance. And actually, this could impact the African Growth and Opportunity Act. He likes to renegotiate trade agreements. He may renegotiate the AGOA Act. And this may be good for us. I will tell you, South Africa being part of BRICS, which is a rather unusual sort of conglomeration of countries, if you think about it, China with the Chinese Communist Party ruling there. You've got India democracy, you've got Brazil, and then you've got a bunch of other countries, Russia, of course, and then South Africa and a bunch of others that they've just recently invited to join BRICS. How will the geopolitical landscape impact Trump's policies towards South Africa and Africa? We'll have to wait and see. I just recently read a report on the one-child policy that China implemented years ago, and how this is coming back to bite them. How the economy, it's being predicted, is going to suffer. And in some circles, researchers are predicting a decline of China. That does not mean that they won't consider armed conflict, but they are looking at real problems threatening the stability of China. So, how likely is Trump to return to the White House? The way things stand today, excuse me, he's the most popular Republican. if he wins all of these court cases, or if they fall by the wayside, I'm predicting that it's very likely that he'll move into the White House, and it'll be quite a story for somebody who's gone through so much to return to the White House.
That thinking about the impact that could have on South Africa, as you've said, he likes to renegotiate trade agreements, and he's not going to be particularly concerned with our problems, is he?
Correct. You may recall during his first term, he sent his Secretary of State to South Africa, which is a positive sign. They value South Africa, and the rare earth minerals that we have, China's activity on the African continent is of concern, of course, to the US, and it's almost as though the US is playing catch up to reassert their influence on the continent. And I'm hopeful that within the geopolitical context, South Africa will make wise decisions when it comes to their support of the Ukraine war or otherwise. I understand that South Africa embraces a neutral stance, but I'm not seeing that they're neutral at all. They're actually choosing a side. So we should keep in mind, our value system as individuals within South Africa are more aligned with the West, I would say. And we should give very deep thought about which direction we're going. Trump, I foresee that he will engage South Africa in some shape or form. But what that's going to look like is going to depend on our actions within the BRICS contexts.
He's not likely to show as much tolerance as Biden, is he?
That's my feeling. Yes, correct. I think that he's a hard negotiator, and if I can put it this way, he demands his pound of flesh in these negotiations under the umbrella of America First. We can look forward to some tough negotiations, trade, which we desperately need. South Africa desperately needs foreign direct investment, a good trade, strong trade relations with the stronger economies in the world to help South Africa.
How do you think America's foreign policy towards Africa as a continent would change under a Trump presidency?
I think the same would go for the rest of Africa, as I've explained the case of South Africa. I find it very interesting that AFRICOM, Africa Command, that their headquarters is based in Stuttgart. And I understand there's a cost implication for the decision to keep it there. They have accommodation for the soldiers, they have schools, they have hospitals, houses that have been built at major expense. But really, AFRICOM belongs on the African continent. And you and I both know France. France is not held in high regard today in Africa because of what they've been up to lately. And so also the United States. So I think in order to endear ourselves to South Africa, to Africa, consideration should be given to moving AFRICOM from Stuttgart, which is in Europe, to somewhere in a stable state in Africa. A country that comes to mind immediately is Botswana. It's a stable country, and I think that would be a big step forward in an outreach to strengthen the ties with Africa from the United States side. So that's the thought that I have on AFRICOM. We'll have to wait and see. I think the policy direction towards Africa is going to depend on a bunch of things. As I say, and China is so active in Africa, and they capitalize on corruption, and that's pretty rife in Africa. And we just got to wait and see how certain things pan out. I think first things first. I think Trump has to figure out these court cases that he's involved in, and then we'll take it from there. You'll see.
Thank you. That was Dr. Edward Mienie of the University of North Georgia in Atlanta, speaking to BizNews about how Africa, and South Africa in particular, could prepare for a possible return of Donald Trump to the White House. Thank you, Dr. Mienie.
Thank you very much, Chris. My pleasure.